speculation that the face on Mars was left behind by creatures that used to live on Mars.
What if I tell you that there is a two-eyed face on Mars that looks exactly like us? The red planet has mysteriously engaged us in anomalies that give proof of life, or maybe ancestral life. In 1976, something strange showed up on NASA's radar. The Viking 1 orbiter was flying over Mars when it captured a photo that sent shockwaves through the world. What were these images, and why did they make such a big deal? Carved into the Martian surface was a massive formation over a mile long that looked exactly like a human face, a mouth, a nose and eyes, staring straight at us. What does this face mean? And who carved it there? When NASA was asked, they brushed it off. They didn't even recognize it as a face, dismissing it as another optical illusion, a trick of light and shadow. But the image exploded, and the public wasn't buying NASA's excuse, because this didn't look like some random rock formation. It looked deliberate, like a warning or a message left behind, and the evidence showed the same. However, a second image taken by the Viking orbiter 35 days later over the same Cydonia region of Mars makes everyone question NASA's statement more openly. What did this image portray?
If you look at this left-hand image, you can see the face with its shadow. But 35 days later, another photo of the same region was taken, and you see, again, the face, but with a slightly shorter shadow, meaning the sun was at a different angle. So the question is, are these naturally occurring, or are they artificial?
If you look at this left-hand image, you can see a face with its shadow, but 35 days later, another photo of the same region was taken, and you see again the face with a slightly shorted shadow that indicated the sun was at a different angle. So, the question is, are they naturally occurring or are they artificial? Even though the angel was different, the face remained the same. Doesn't this mean that the face of Mars had more mysteries to reveal rather than just being reduced to an optical illusion? A message from beyond. From who? That's the question NASA never really answered, and maybe that's exactly how they wanted it. But who'll stop people from talking? The debates were heating, and one man threw gasoline on the fire. Who was this man? It's important to know because what he did made NASA do something crazy. This was Richard C. Hoagland, a former CBS science advisor turned cosmic whistleblower. He proposed that the facial structure, along with nearby structures, were remnants of an ancient Martian civilization. Yes, you heard that right. Hoagland's book, The Monuments of Mars, A City on the Edge of Forever, published back in 1987, questioned NASA, along with shaking the entire space community. He wasn't buying the idea that the face on Mars and the strange pyramid-like shapes nearby were just natural hills or shadows playing tricks. Nope, for Hoagland, these were ruins, real ruins, built long ago by an intelligent Martian civilization that may have vanished, or maybe moved on. The most interesting fact was the design of the structures. They weren't just randomly scattered across the ground. They had an order, geometry, purpose. According to Hoagland, the formations lined up almost too perfectly, like someone had drawn them with a ruler. They resembled the patterns found in some of Earth's oldest wonders, like Egypt's pyramids of Giza, Stonehenge in England, and even the Sphinx. What were the odds?
Well, bottom line, there appeared to be, both in the mythos, in the architecture, in the math, the geometry, at all levels, some profound, deep connection between the monuments of Mars and the monuments of Earth, specifically in Egypt.
There appeared to be both in the mythos and the architecture, and in the math, the geometry, at all levels, some profound, deep connections between the monuments of Mars and the monuments of Earth, specifically Egypt. Wait, does this mean there's a connection? Were our ancestors trying to communicate with Martians? Or could it be even wilder than that? What if we came from Mars, long ago, forced to abandon a dying planet and start over here on Earth? Is humanity the legacy of an ancient Martian exodus? Sounds crazy, until you start looking at the clues. Nevertheless, coming back to Hoagland's discovery, the man tried convincing NASA to take new pictures, but when it didn't work out, he took a different way.
This is Coast to Coast AM, and I'm Art Bell. Great to be here.
Naturally, Hoagland wasn't alone in his mission. After all, the man had worked in major news networks, he had powerful connections, and wasn't afraid to use them. One such key ally was Art Bell, the legendary host of the late-night radio show Coast to Coast AM, a program known for diving deep into the unexplained, the mysterious, and the conspiratorial. Hoagland seized this opportunity. With Bell's massive platform and devoted audience, he launched a full-scale public campaign. He encouraged listeners to write letters, flood NASA with calls, demand transparency, and push for clearer images of the face on Mars. The show became a rallying point for truth-seekers around the country, amplifying the mystery to millions. What did NASA do then? They couldn't ignore it forever. Fast forward to 2001. Nearly 25 years after that first haunting image from Viking, one sparked worldwide curiosity. The debate still raged. The face of Mars controversy was still alive, in the minds of researchers as well as in the hearts of the public. The pressure was building and the questions were only getting louder. Was it real? Was it artificial? Why hadn't NASA released better pictures by now? Eventually, NASA had no choice but to respond, and they did. How? That same year, they sent the Mars Global Surveyor back to the Red Planet. Its mission, to revisit the infamous Cydonia region. But this time, with far more advanced imaging equipment than Viking one had in the 1970s, the hope, at least for NASA, was to finally put the rumors to rest. But the images it returned only added more fuel to the fire. Wait, where did the face go? The grainy, haunting face from 1976 now appeared to be nothing more than a rugged mesa, and its human-like features seemed to be smoothed away by sharper detail. Is it the same place? Were the new images real? The skeptics didn't stop. Regardless, NASA claimed this as their final word. Dismissing what once looked like a face as a simple case of pareidolia, our brain's instinct to find familiar shapes, like faces, in random patterns.
People said, life on Mars, oh my gosh, because there's a nose, eye sockets, cheekbones, oval head. You found it because we are trained to see faces even if there's not a face. This is what we do. It's what we can do. In fact, there's a word for it. Pareidolia?
People said, life on Mars, oh my gosh, because there's a nose, eye socket, cheekbones. They are oval head. You found it because we are trained to see faces even if there's not a face. This is what we do. It's what we can do. In fact, there is a word for it, pareidolia. But just when NASA thought they'd buried the face, another bomb dropped. Another man wasn't ready to let the mystery go away that easily. Land Fleming, who was a NASA constructor, couldn't shake the feeling that something about the image didn't add up. So, he went back to the raw data and attempted to reconstruct the image. Initially, he was unable to do so, but after applying 14 different Photoshop filters to the file, the face emerged again, clear, defined, unmistakable. He argued that JPL stripped away much of the image's tonal variation, removing the subtle light and shadow details that help our eyes perceive its three-dimensional form. To Fleming, this wasn't just a coincidence, it was deliberate. Something or someone didn't want that face to be seen and NASA supported them. But why would NASA do that? On the other hand, Hoagland and his partner in theory, Michael Barra, weren't buying NASA's newly released photographs either. According to them, the real red flag was the delay. NASA sat on those pictures for 6 whole weeks before releasing them. This doesn't sound like a coincidence. What was NASA doing for 6 weeks? Maybe testing their editing skills. If we add 2 + 2, we see the truth has been deliberately hidden from the public, and it's not the first time. Yes, it's not the first time we got the proof of life from Mars, only to have NASA shrug them off as optical illusions. Take this image, for example. It is captured in 2001 near the side of Arsia Mons, a massive Martian volcano. Have a closer look. What do you see? An almost perfect square. It doesn't look random. It looks anything but natural. The pit is almost 100 yards across, with edges so clean, so precise, it's hard not to think it was engineered. Who did that? We are talking about a nearly symmetrical square, carved into the ancient volcanic rock of Mars. This, from above, resembles the kind of thing you'd expect to see in a sci-fi film, a secret hatch, a base entrance, or maybe even the ruins of a forgotten civilization. But when questions started flying, NASA didn't flinch. Their response: it's just the collapsed roof of a lava tube. Nothing to see here, folks. No tools, no intelligent design, just the forces of nature, they said. But skeptics weren't so sure, because lava tubes don't usually leave behind perfect right angles, and they certainly don't carve out neat little squares into Martian mountains, unless Mars suddenly hired a bricklayer. But before this square hole mystery could be solved, another picture from Mars seized the internet. The smiley face. Yes, a real one. The image came from Europe's ExoMars orbiter, shared by the European Space Agency, ESA. in an Instagram post on September 7, 2024. It showed two round craters sitting side by side like eyes, and below them, a curved line of bright white salt shaped like a grin. It looked just like a giant cartoon face, stamped right into the Martian surface. Social media went wild. Some joked that Mars was smiling back at us. But NASA and the European Space Agency, they said it was nothing more than wind and erosion. Chloride salts shaped by nature, they explained. Just your brain playing tricks.
We're programmed as humans to recognize faces. We're really good at it.
We are programmed as humans to recognize faces. We are really good at it. So first, Mars gives us a perfect square. Now it gives us a perfect smile. If this is all just nature, then Mars might be the most talented random artist in the solar system. We still have a lot to uncover. Did NASA alter the images of the face on Mars? And if they did, what were they trying to hide? Who or what are they protecting from public discovery? Time and again we've seen strange shapes, familiar patterns, and structures that seem far too precise to be natural. And yet every time the explanation is the same. Pareidolia, just your brain connecting dots that aren't there. Just another illusion, just coincidence, over and over again. But how many times can a coincidence repeat before it becomes something more? Why does every other photo from Mars that sparks global curiosity suddenly become a dismissed case of shadows and erosion? Why are we told to stop asking questions the moment we start connecting the dots? Is this really pareidolia, or is NASA hiding something bigger? Is it just about the discovery of life on Mars, or is something far darker being buried beneath the surface? Maybe it's not just about what we've seen, but something we were never meant to see. What do you have to say about these new discoveries? Make sure to let us know in the comments. And if you liked this video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.